Hey, this is the Hard Truth. Tony Shaffer, powered by Sig Sauer. Never settle. I had a choice of what I carried in combat. I always carried the best. You should carry the best 6 hours. Matter of fact, I had to carry something last night, and I'm not joking. I had to get out and put a holster on it and carry my trusty P320 uh, 45 caliber goodness, the Legion 320. I'm sorry, 220. What am I saying? It's been a long day. I had to do a run just now too, so I'm exhausted from doing two and a little over 2 miles. So anyway, I had to carry this last night. Highly recommend it. It's a 45 caliber wonder weapon. So carry, I go with 6 hour, never settle. And we are on the America Out Loud Podcast Network and Radio Network. And we are Project Sentinel, projectsentinel.com. Check us out there. And we're also on X. Also, we're powered and supported by Swiss America. Call and get a free copy of their Secret War on Cash newsletter, 800-289-2646. And oh my goodness, speaking of Swiss America, I think we have someone from Swiss America. There he is, Dean Heskin from Swiss America. Thank you for popping in, as if people are going to believe you just popped in.
Just magically appeared.
You
said my voice is, and boom, there you said
that's
my
right.
name, and there,
that's
there
right.
it was.
And here we are. So we're going to have a good discussion today about cash, the war on cash, and a variety of issues that I think are important to every American, no matter what your political stripes or bars or anything else. Who knows? We don't discriminate or by color, creed, or anything else. I think money and resources, investments are all worth having, no matter who you are. And I think that's the one thing that is universal. And one of the things I've talked about with the folks here, gold has been a foundational element of civilization going back to the ancient Egyptians or before, right? I mean, we've had a lot of things that people have used for barter, but some things are kind of universal. So, Dean, you guys are in the business of helping people, advise people. But so let's start with kind of your experience and what you believe to be in the best interest of people who are listening to us today.
Yeah, Tony. Well, thanks for having me. You're absolutely
Sure.
right. Gold, gold has been around. In fact, over the years, as I would talk to customers or clients, I would always tell them, say, listen, the good Lord Himself took the time and trouble to put this stuff into the ground,
Yeah.
and from day one that man started extracting it out of the ground, it has been a sought after and of cherished or esteemed value. So
Mm-hmm.
it is the value of it is has been as consistent as anything you'll find, more consistent than anything you'll find, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And when you look at gold, yes, it has fueled economies and countries and governments for centuries. And like you'd said about your show, it being a non-discriminatory show, for those tuning in and for us sitting here, what is happening in our financial system, what's happening in our domestic economy, what's happening in the global economy is very non-discriminatory. It is going to have an impact on each and every one of us, regardless of what our political views are.
Exactly.
And there are, things that is obviously as we get into an election season here, there are different things that different candidates pose in terms of what it may change some of the different directions of the economy, et cetera. But in the bigger picture, Tony, right now, with what's going on in the world of finance and in the world of money throughout the world, this is really the candidate. As much as I hate to say it, probably is going to prove to be of less consequence to trying to fix what's going on right now, because it's much bigger than just the United States and this election that we have going on.
Yeah. Well, let's go into that a little bit. So, one of the things that, again, I think continuing the point, this issue is not only non-discriminatory, it's not domestic, it's global. You just said it's like this is
Right.
everybody, it's like weather. Everybody's affected. No matter what your politics are, you're going to have to deal with the weather. And the same thing here, right? You're going to have to deal with the economy one way or another. So I always tell people, I'm a retired military guy. I'm a planner. We Army guys, we plan things. We look at, you can't predict, but you can forecast based on the past, right? I mean, that's a correct statement. You
That's
know,
ve- yep.
you and I, we don't dial the psychic hotline and talk to gypsies about the future, right? We look at trends and assess things based on the past and what we think the future will hold, right? That's I think
Correct.
a good way of summarizing that. So
I throw a little prayer in there. I'll lean on
prayers
the
are
big
good.
guy upstairs. But yeah, a
Prayers
little
are
bit
good.
of prayer and a little bit of trying to pay attention to what history has done and what we might
Exactly.
see in the future based on
Yeah.
that.
So that's the key. No matter how our domestic situation rolls, and I'm going to hit that in a second. You have a larger global constellation of organizations and states. Now, it's interesting. I want to differentiate because simply because a nation has a fiscal policy, it doesn't mean a corporation in that nation will necessarily be completely tied to it. Let me mention IKEA. IKEA is a global organization. It goes well past Sweden, uh, Exxon Mobil. You have corporations which actually I think have a larger control of economy than nations do in some places because they're transnational. And I think people have to recognize that even if you have a country that believes it's well suited, like the United States, we how many times have we been slammed by OPEC, right?
Right.
And that's a series of nations that have petroleum, and then you have corporations which can do things. We just avoided the strike. So, Dean, what do you see as the best way we, as citizens of the United States, to prepare for what could be headwinds coming from other nations across the sea?
Well, shamelessly, I will say in terms of preparation of what's coming, uh, I will say gold.
Yeah.
Gold,
Oh, I'm
gold
yeah.
or
Me too.
silver. Um, but as I say that, let me support that or back it up with the fact that central banks have been buying gold at a record rate, most gold that they've ever purchased in the history of all the central banks. We
And
have
gold
this
is pretty
this
expensive right now. It's about 2,500 an ounce, right?
26 and change, give or take.
26 and change, yeah.
Um,
But it's worth it because it retains value. But I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to throw that in there.
No, it's a reflection of what's happening out
Yeah.
there. The demand factor is gone through the roof. On our podcast, Tony, we've been covering it for a little over a year now.
Mhm.
That in fact we went into fourth quarter of last year talking about when gold was trading at less than 2,000 an ounce going into 2024, how many of the forecasts like were all suggesting by the end of this year we would see $3,000 an ounce gold. That's a
Yeah.
50% increase.
Yeah.
Sounded unbelievable at the time. But
But
again,
here we
now
are.
here we sit in basically the beginning of October, and we have gold sitting at 2670, and now they're saying that $3,000 price point is just going to be like a quick stop on its way to even higher prices. And
Yeah.
another thing that's really driving metals right now as well is this alliance that's known as BRICS. That you have, it stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Right. We've
And
talked a little bit about it on the show before, but we appreciate you bringing it up and going through it, please.
well, with BRICS has been around since 2001. And many people aren't aware of that. It just kind of was sitting dormant for all these years.
Yeah.
And within the last few years, they've really started to pick up momentum. And by picking up momentum, at last I heard, they're having a major summit that is going to be taking place in a few weeks.
Yeah.
What started off as those five nations, there are now several dozen nations that are now choosing to participate in this BRICS alliance. And honestly, I wouldn't even call it an alliance anymore, Tony. It's a movement. They
Oh, yeah.
are they are the term that is used when you describe BRICS is de-dollarization. They are set on getting rid of the US dollar and the US dollar dominance out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
So,
with that, BRICS has
yeah.
been next to the central banks, and understand something as well. BRICS nations are also part of the central banks, but the BRICS establishment has been buying gold because they're about to launch before long here their own gold-backed currency, which is what likely, at least wise in their hope or estimation, is going to be what dethrones the US dollar.
Excellent point. And nobody is put it in that succinct way that's been on our show. So basically, what you're saying to summarize here, now, and by the way, my friend and colleague Brigadier General Blaine Holt, we're always on Newsmax together. We see the
Mhm.
threat to our economy by undermining Western currency. Well, one of the things that I think I'd like to believe, we'll see if you agree with me or not, but I think Richard Nixon made a huge mistake to take us off the gold standard and basically put us on the petrodollar standard because basically there's nothing there. I mean, we're basically counting on the full faith and credit of the United States being based on full faith and credit. It's like you're always hoping that people continue to use your currency for their transactions. To me,
Sure.
that's very dangerous, especially if you now see, like you just mentioned, other nations who are motivated to undermine the Western order. I think that's safe to say that they're not digging the Western order. They don't want to be part of the G7 or G5 or whatever G it is now. And they're going about establishing a comprehensive economic relationship that soon will have a currency. I don't know which currency that'll be. Maybe you can tell us more about that, but it'll be a currency based on something real, which is gold. And this is
Right.
something that the West is not prepared to deal for, as far as I can tell.
No, not at all. And to your earlier point, yes, taking us off the gold standard was certainly a mistake. What really did help our economy thrive for these last several decades was the fact that, with the OPEC making the determination that all purchases of petrol would have to be done in US dollars. And for those tuning in, if you're not familiar, what that means is like if you were Russia, you had to take your rubles and convert them into US dollars in
Oh
order
yeah,
to purchase your oil.
right.
And what that did is gave us instant success and strength in our currency, because what makes anything stronger investment wise or currency wise is the demand, people buying it. And we had demand that was created literally overnight. Now that's changing.
Yep.
Countries are in basically violation of OPEC and snubbing their nose at OPEC, and for that matter, the United States. They have begun to transact, do their oils transacting in their own domestic currencies.
Yes.
And this is something that the dollar has already been on the ropes and is on the ropes. And when you take something like this, now all of a sudden, what has been a steady demand, it's kind of like, you count on your job. You have your savings and investments for the future, and you have your job to pay you an income that you can live off of. And that's kind of the stabilizer in your life financially. Well, that's kind of what OPEC did for the US dollar. And now that that's going away, we're losing what has been really something that has provided us tremendous stability for many, many years now. As you bring up BRICS, or you look at BRICS, yes, they have their own currency. In fact, they're very specific about it, Tony. They are going to that currency is going to have a 40% backing of gold, and the remainder of its value is going to be derived from the combined value, some form of a combined value of the participating nations in BRICS. So it's going to have the support of all those economies in addition to that backing of gold. And
Yeah.
you see the reason this BRICS alliance, or this movement, is growing as much as it is very simple. It's a simple pitch that Putin and his buddies are making to these countries. That just so you understand, countries don't just say, "Hey, we want in." There's a process. They
Yeah.
say we'd like to get in. They have to. They meet on it. They discuss it. They have to get approved, and then they'll ultimately let them in. But the reason they're doing it, number one, they're kind of tired of being kicked around by the United States and the
Oh
dollar.
yeah.
And so by doing this, what happens is they're going to get a currency that is going to be stronger than the US dollar, because it's backed by gold and because it's backed by many nations. And it's going to help to bolster their domestic economy, something that they desperately need, because now they're going to be able to count on their own currency and their own economy to sustain itself. So it's a win-win for them. And that's why, at last count I heard, there are somewhere over 320 nations in our world, Tony.
Mhm.
This summit, they're expecting over 160 countries to be there for this BRICS summit in just a few weeks. And that shows you this is more than just an idea or a concept. This is, like I say, this is a movement. This is something that is gaining steam and momentum literally by the day.
So the economic negligence of the United States and the West is on full display. And let me explain my comment, and you can help educate our audience on what I mean. um, basically the BRICS nations are doing what they feel is in their economic interest. And one of the things that they recognize is the United States puts conditions. Can you imagine that, Dean? We put conditions on things like social issues, and if you behave a certain way, basically to interact within our system, you have to behave a certain way. And if you don't behave a certain way, you're penalized, right? It's called sanctions. Sanctions
Right.
are a tool that's used. I think it's overused because the very reason some of these nations are leaving the world based order of the West is because they don't like sanctions. They don't like being told what to do. So, one of the notable features of BRICS is, hey, you can't sanction anybody. As a matter of fact, that's one of the fundamental requirements. No nation in BRICS can be sanctioning some other nation. That's one of the
Right.
rules. So it's like, hey, we're here to trade, and so you don't have that social order, this can I say nanny state? I guess I can say nanny state. It's a form of being a nanny state by us.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you have to behave a certain way. Shame on you, Russia, for invading Ukraine. I'm not belittling the invasion. I'm just saying Russia has said with China, and they continue to trade and they work on the BRICS issues. They don't care, and so but because we care, we have now sacrificed the economic uh, momentum, the global momentum we had as a Western rules based order to the idea that we should be telling them how to do things. Is that?
Right.
Do you agree with that? Yeah. So BRICS is kind of attractive. It's like, hey, we don't have this mother may I BS. We don't have to worry that one day the American ambassador is going to call me up and say we're cutting off this loan because you did something to displease us. You're not going to have that, and that's attractive to a
Right.
lot of nations. Just saying.
Oh,
And
100%.
yeah, and so then you combine that then with no more of this nanny state BS. Hey, we're gonna have gold as the foundation for the currency. That's a win-win. So, and when you can contrast that with us, you got annoying people like Barack Obama and Joe Biden telling you how to do things. Well, you can't do it this way, or else we're going to cut your money, or we're going to sanction you. You got that to deal with, and then you have the issue of there's nothing behind the currency. It's like, you know, there's nothing there. It's just hoping that we continue to be, produce movies in Hollywood, and we have really nice vacations people can go on, and I don't know, maybe they can mortgage the Mount Rushmore or something if they need money. But the bottom line
Wouldn't put
is,
it past them.
yeah, there you go. So, so that's what we're faced with, right? I mean, this is a pretty stark uh, contrast. And oh, by the way, Dean, I don't think anybody in the current administration is paying attention to what we're talking about. Would you disagree with that?
No, not at all. And that's what's really, disheartening, Tony, is that,
Yeah,
at least in my opinion and from my perspective, is that, BRICS, if you really look at it, it really is progress. They're doing something. There's something hopeful in their future,
right.
that these countries are creating.
They're building a future.
Yeah, in the United States, you talk about all these nations that are out there buying gold right now to shore up their currency and their country's financial system, et cetera. The United States is not one of those countries that's doing that. The
Right.
biggest discussion financially that we have going on here is now the government, or the United States government, is talking about, issuing CBDCs, so we can do, uh, currencies like trading, what do you call it, like cryptos.
Mhm.
It's different than crypto, but it's a digital currency.
Right.
Now, what's interesting about that is when we were talking about this on our podcast recently, I mean, really, we already have digital currency in this country. We have a fiat money system. They took the gold backing away, like we talked about a moment ago. So now it's just a piece of paper. But we don't even use that paper anymore. Everything is either a debit card or a credit card. All of our banking is done electronically. So,
Right.
I mean, really, by and large, we're there in terms of, using a digital currency. We've been doing it for a while. And the reason I bring that up is because when you really look at it in those terms, our system is screwed up because our government has made some horrible mistakes to get us to where we are today.
Yeah.
And what they're saying is, hey, this old system is broken. This old electronic system that we're currently using. We're gonna create a new one, and we promise this one is going to be better than the one we just screwed up.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, my confidence factor in that, and there's been certainly several people have come forward, but some of the biggest money minds in the world, Warren Buffett, Jamie Dimon, there have been several that, talk about this is a step in the wrong direction, but this is the only solution of substance that the United States government has come up with in terms of what we are doing financially to help better our future. And our future is not looking good because if you look at our debt, I mean, the numbers that have been building with our debt, Tony, here in the last several months, we're paying $3 billion a day in interest on our debt.
Unbelievable.
Three
Unbelievable.
billion. And I'm not talking, I make this point all the time. I'm not talking the Monday through Friday work days.
Right.
7 days a week, $3 billion a day. Just
Yeah.
a little over a month ago, our debt went up over 5% in 1 month. That is unsustainable.
Right.
And the bottom line is, and there's nothing being discussed or talked about into how they're going to fix this, what the remedy, what the solution is. I can assure you, whatever candidate gets in, this is not a problem they can fix because this is math. You can't fight math. Math has one answer, and at the end of the day, this is where why one of many reasons why BRICS is gaining the momentum it is because the world is looking at this, and who are we to be telling them how to run their financial system? Our financial system is a wreck.
Right. So let's break that down a little bit because I was told by one of my friends and mentors, Congressman Walter Jones, this is back 15 years ago, that we were creating our own Damocles sword, if you will, that, all these things we're doing, all this money we're spending without regard to the future was very dangerous. It was a national security threat. Now, I'll say this about President Trump, and I'm going to get into a little politics here, and I don't want to get you in trouble because I know you need to deal with everybody, but I think I want to be clear on this because what you just said is to me an existential threat that we are essentially spending so much money if our spending and borrowing becomes such that our currency loses value. Gee, my goodness, we're going to be holding a lot of debt that we have no way to pay it back. And I think your point about just the interest on the debt is humongous. Now, Donald Trump linked correctly, and I was a national security advisor to the Trump 2020 campaign, so I know this is a fact because it was something that Steve Moore, one of his advisors, and I worked on. Steve Moore from over at Heritage, and Trump recognized that our economic prosperity was linked directly to national security, and that's something he did work. But this has been going on long before Trump showed up on the political scene, and I'm not convinced. And I love Donald Trump. Don't take this as a criticism. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do everything necessary to stop the bleeding because we basically cut the carotid artery of our economy, and we're bleeding. And you got to do some pretty radical surgery to get it under control. Is the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so whoever comes in, if it's Trump or his team, they got to do something. But let's talk about the worst case. Dean, how do you feel about Kamala Harris basically being the person who is most concerned about your hopes, dreams, aspirations? Do you like the idea of her touching those?
This I don't even want to
And
touch that question, to
she
be
says that's
honest
what
with
she
you.
wants to do. He's
Yeah.
concerned about your hope, dreams, and aspirations, and whether you like it or not.
Well, I guess to her credit, that's a pretty broad-based statement, and I guess it gives the ability to give us some warms and fuzzies that those things are going to be touched. How that translates into any policy she plans to put forward, I question.
That's the issue.
And
Yes.
I guess the biggest thing I would tell you is, and anyone tuning in, and this is only my opinion, but if you are counting on Kamala Harris to touch your dreams, hopes, and aspirations,
Hopes, dreams, and
y-
aspirations. I wrote it down
you
just so I remember it.
you may want to rethink your strategy on that. So I'm going to take my own personal responsibility for touching
There you
hopes,
go.
dreams, and
See,
aspirations.
we circled the square. We're back to gold.
Exactly right. Exactly
So
right.
we got to take a break. We're coming up on halfway through the show, man. Dean, I'm enjoying our conversation. This is going really fast. So,
Me as well.
and I'd like to believe people are not only learning, but they're learning context and what is important to the point we're trying to make. Is that if you have a knucklehead running for office, maybe that's not the person you should be turning to for economic advice, right? I'm just saying,
Fair.
uh, and
Don't
so
don't take advice from that broke uncle you have. Go
that's
find
that's
someone
right. That's
else.
right. Or the guy that doesn't know if he was in Beijing or not during a revolution. Just I don't know. So, but we're going to come back from the break. We want to continue this conversation. But the bottom line is what Dean, the war on cash, the issues we're talking about, really should inform everybody's thinking that they need to invest in their own financial stability and security.
That's right.
So, gold is the way of doing that. Gold, silver, platinum, all good things. I've got the stuff too. I've got it as well. So
Right.
you need to have these things because you cannot depend on the government. Even if Trump wins, you cannot depend on the government to fix this stuff because the federal leviathan, the global leviathan. I mean, this is not just us. This is the Western banks who also have kind of bought into this. That's why BRICS, being Western, is an alternative that other people are turning to. So anyway, we'll cover more about that right after this break. We'll be back with part 2 of the Hard Truth right after this short break. Hey, this is the Hard Truth. Tony Shaffer. Part 2, still powered by Sig Sauer, never settle. I had a choice of what I carried in combat. I always carried the best. You should carry the best. The best is Sig Sauer. All right, and we are on the America Out Loud Talk Radio Network and their podcast network. And we are Project Sentinel, projectsentinel.com. Forgot to mention last time we're on X. We are at PRJ_Sentinel. Check us out and what we do. And then in addition to Swiss America, I'll get to Swiss America in a second, I always give credit to Cherie Curry. God bless you, Cherie. Cherie's doing God's work, literally. She's the chainsawchick.com. She does our theme and bumper music. And she's got a birthday coming up. It's going to be public. Can you imagine that? A hot chick who's not afraid of her age. She's and it'll be Whiskey A Go Go 1 November. John Ford Coley, her son Jake. Should be a good crowd turnout. I guess it'll be a combination of yacht rock and hard rock, which it's like a fusion, right? That's going to be interesting.
That's a fusion, yeah.
It would be cool. So we're joined. So Dean Heskin from Swiss America. Check them out, Swiss America. You can always call them at 800-289-2646. Tell them Tony Shaffer sent you, or better, tell them that Dean Heskin sent you. Oh, you'll be calling yourself then. You don't want to do that. So in the second part of the show, we're bringing in the quite quirky yet lovable Chris Cordani and
so lovable.
and TV's Elizabeth.
There we go.
Elizabeth Brankenkamp is joining.
We're called the Mold Squad. There we go.
When you're describing Chris, I thought you were going to describing Elizabeth, the quirky.
Oh,
Quirky
well, I don't know. Maybe you know something I don't, Dean.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, I bring joy. I bring joy to podcasts.
That's right.
And radio
joy.
shows. That's right.
We are we are the font of hopes, dreams, desires, and aspirations. We are joyful, right?
Absolutely.
Better that joy than Joy Behar.
Oh,
I'm still trying to figure out how do I pay my bills with joy? That's what I'm gonna get.
Well, you can do it like Ocasio-Cortez, I think. Get elected to office and pretend you don't know what a garbage disposal is. It worked for her. So just saying.
To be honest with you, Jeremiah the Bullfrog was a pretty a good component or good advocate of joy.
And a good friend of yours.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. The show must go on. That's right.
That's right.
You're right.
All right, we digress. We got to get to work here. So we're back with Dean. Dean, we were just first half of the show we went through. I think we gave a comprehensive, but I don't know, about a high school level review of BRICS and the dollar and everything. I think we laid out why we have challenges coming and why hard metals opposed to soft metals. I think, by the way, do you think that maybe there's like soft metals in the jaw, like lead is resulted in Joe Biden having problems. I don't want to go down that road. Anyway, but hard metals like gold, silver, and platinum are an amazing hedge against any economic challenges, and we are going to have challenges, no doubt. I mean, you just went and talked about gold last time, how it was below 2,000. Now it's at 2,600 plus. It's a good chance it's going to go to over 3K per ounce. You probably want to buy
By
that now
year's end.
before it goes up.
By
All right.
year's
Yeah.
end, yeah.
So there you go. It's an opportunity, right? So let's kick it in there with Chris and Elizabeth. So Chris, you've been putting the good information up. So War Against Cash is the book, right? So that's part of what we need to talk about is the war on cash.
It's a newsletter. A Secret
Yeah.
War on Cash is a newsletter. You can sign up for that here on the
That's
website
right.
too. Yes, all good stuff. But there is one out there because you see how it's going. You guys talked about BRICS beforehand.
Yeah.
We're also looking at cryptocurrencies and your Bitcoins of the world. I mean, there are a lot of factions around the world that want to kind of marginalize, to use the left's phrase, the U.S. dollar. And that's going to affect us all around. It's going to affect a lot of countries. In fact, it's to the point. Do you remember when Javier Milei ran for president of Argentina? He advocated that the country would go back to using the dollar, or at least invest in using the dollar. That hasn't happened yet, and that's rather telling too.
Right.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's very telling. I mean, look, the dollar. When it comes to investment and finance, it's a popularity contest in terms of success. And the dollar is losing that contest right now. There are too many other options that are better options, safer options, more stable options. And, as we talked about BRICS and some of the problems with our debts, our deficits, and what have you in the earlier part of the show, you understand the United States of America is, in my opinion, the greatest country in the world to live in still. And I don't believe that, and I don't want people listening to this program to think that, the sky is falling and the end draweth nigh. It's just a matter of being prepared for what is probably going to be a pretty rough landing, if not a crash financially. And what I mean by that is, they may have to reboot our entire economy because of our debt problem. They may have to reboot our currency because of the lack of or loss of value there. And the key is, at Swiss America, we've been around for 42 years now. Personally, I've been with the firm for 32 years, and I've owned it now for, I think, close to 4 or 5 years. We have been advocating people be financially diversified for all 42 of those years. There are good times to have gold. Meaning in terms of like the market going up, there are times it may not go up, but a well-balanced or diversified portfolio, you're going to have a little bit of a lot of things in there so that when one market is performing better than the other, you're going to still be in a position where you're hedged, if you will. So having some stocks and bonds, having some cash, having some land, having gold and silver, keeping yourself in a position, and how much of each to have, it depends on what's going on in the marketplace or the economy.
Yeah.
Right now, for instance, this is in all the years that I've been dealing in this business. The beauty of it right now is it's not us gold guys telling you to buy gold. It's all the other people out there. Some of the top money minds in the world are all saying, look, this is a time to be getting into gold. Take a page from the central banks. That's what they're doing. That's what BRICS is doing. It is an unencumbered asset. See, the beauty of gold as we sit here and talk today, it doesn't depend on the US dollar to give it value. As we're talking right now, it has a value in yen and pound and lira and euro. And so, heaven forbid something bad does happen to the US dollar, it doesn't need the dollar to give it value. Whatever new form of exchange or currency we have, something will come that we will exchange for goods and services. The beauty of gold is it will just adapt itself to whatever that new currency is, as it's done for centuries now.
So I brought that up to begin with, and I think it's something, sometimes, as I say in Newsmax, sometimes the obvious is the best place to start because some people don't recognize it as being obvious, which is the very thing you just said, Dean, is that, civilizations going back to the Mayans, to the Romans, every civilization has found value in gold. It is what it is. And that has endured to this time. And unlike the Mayans, at least we don't behead people now, right? And we hopefully won't do that.
Well,
But the idea is the
Not that we
value.
know of. Yeah.
That's right. The
yeah.
value of the currency of their system of essentially economic interactions was using gold. And so at this point, it's beyond abundantly clear that the people to ignore that fact is at their own peril because of the fiat currency called the dollar. Is that a good summary of that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, at the end of the day, not a single person on this program right now or listening to this program right now, none of us want to wake up and find out that our bank account has zeroed out because there was a
Right.
computer glitch. We don't want to find that the US dollar became worthless because now all this money that we put away is of no value to us anymore. So
Right.
that's
Mhm.
where, again, having something like gold and silver, we I would love for everybody tuning in, call our company, find out more about it, learn about the market before you decide to or not to do it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of companies out there. I prefer you deal with us, but there's never been a time in the history of our lives that gold has been on a financial level more important for us to have in our investment portfolio because it is something that you can't stress that enough. It has withstood the test of time. It has been a currency for countries throughout the world throughout the entirety of history. So, right,
Mhm.
you have something that is substance to it versus where again, heaven forbid something happens in our financial system, you can literally go put your hand on this and know that you've got something of value there. And silver too. I mean, mind you, silver's at $30 an ounce today. Now the talks there by either end of this year or early next year, they're looking at $50 plus for silver, just given
Right.
the dynamic of what's going on there. So just an excellent opportunity, not just to get diversified, but to also take advantage of something is proving to be a very good investment. One of the best performing asset classes there is, actually.
Right. So let me hit that again. 800 289 2646. Reach out to Dean and his team. And obviously, one of the things I do with the reads, obviously, on the show, and one of
Yeah.
the other things you guys offer is the Walking Liberty half dollar. The silver dollar is something that I do talk about personally because
Mhm.
if you have a crisis, like if we were in Asheville right now, we were in the mountains, I'm gold and silver are gonna it works, because there's no electronic system to barter on. You're not going to be able to use a credit card. You're not going to
Right.
have it's like you're not going to be able to walk into the food line or the
Right.
Piggly
Winn-Dixie.
Wiggly. And yeah, it's like, so if you've got that silver, it's like worth $30. What, that. And so I
Mhm.
actually have a good number of silver dollars and silver things, 1 ounce silver
Things,
things, which, yeah, well, silver dollars for the most part,
the
but they
little
are,
bars. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Oh, why
that
not?
that and
I've got
that
a
and
silver
that actually
T-Rex right here.
yeah,
Hey, there
yeah.
you go. Got one
It
of
breaks down. It breaks down from, someone may not have change for 2,600 dollars. So it's like, hey, you got
right.
change for no,
Yeah,
I don't have that. It's like, okay,
yeah, they'll
here's
be
some
like,
silver.
yeah.
So have both. You will not go wrong. So
But I do
Well,
want to I do
go
want
ahead,
to add
CC.
something to all of you, if that's okay. I want to add something here too. It's not just about the coins and just about the bars. Gold and silver also have very important industrial purposes as
oh
well. We
yeah,
can go to a lot of
That's right.
precious metals for that, and that also can increase that such metals value.
100%. And
Huh.
that's part
Yeah.
of the driving force in the market right now as well. That's, we get over the years, Tony, I've been asked that question, like, Lord knows how many times by people like, if something happens with the dollar, how am I going to exchange this silver or this gold for bread and milk or whatever else? And
Mhm.
I'm not saying or suggesting that you are going to do that. It's not. You look at, it's kind of like we were talking a moment ago about in Argentina or what happened years ago in Russia, where when there's disruption to a currency, some new form of medium is going to emerge.
right.
It likely won't be gold and silver that will be used as currency. And the only reason I say that, there's just not enough of it out there. But what will happen is, again, whatever that currency might be, gold and silver can be converted into that currency. So if I
Bingo,
if I have
bingo.
a one
Oh,
ounce gold coin in my possession right now, and I need to get cash, I'd take it to someone like myself, cash it in, and then what would happen is they would give me, let's just say it's an ounce, $2,650 or so for that coin. And now I have that currency that I can go buy my groceries or do
Exactly.
whatever else I need to do.
Yeah.
By the same token, if I put that same coin in my pocket, got on a plane, and I went over to Europe, I would go to a institution there and I would take that gold coin, and now I need some currency so I can get around Europe. I would
Mhm.
take it and I would convert it into their currency, whatever local currency that
Right.
is. And now I could go about and do my business. That's the functionality of it. The key is that it's not a piece of paper that has a value that's based strictly and solely on confidence. That's why it's called an
Um,
unencumbered asset. It does not require somebody else making good on a liability for it to give it value. Its value is based on what it is.
And it's not
oh,
unencumbered like Jerry Nadler unencumbered. Not that kind. This
oh,
is the good kind
okay.
of unencumbered. Yeah. So, but to that point, it's like the universal translator. It's like it's going to be worth value no matter where you go, and that's why. And it's it's mobile. And man, oh man, I can just imagine. And Dean, I'm an expert in cyber operations and weaponized technology. You lose the internet. I don't care if you've got Bitcoin or whatever. It's like, yeah, if you don't have zeros and ones, you really don't have access to that asset. It's like that. But you can
That's what I
have
was going to
access to gold and
ask.
silver. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
I wanted
So
to
there you
ask
go.
about Bitcoin. So I know very little about Bitcoin. A friend of mine recently was telling me that he had invested a lot in Bitcoin because he was explaining, and I know, Dean, you can explain the difference, but I'm trying to figure out the difference of using, and I kind of think I'm starting to get the idea. If you buy gold and silver coins and bars, the difference between using that, like you said, you can go to Europe or any other country and you can easily convert that. But a friend of mine said he had invested a lot in Bitcoin because he was making the point, you have financial security because it's not created by any government. It's not controlled by any government. So whatever you purchase is not taxed. And whenever, like 10, 20 years from now, if you want to get out your Bitcoin or even 5 years from now and use it, that's not taxed. And so he was kind of like pointing that out. So now I'm thinking in my head, I know very little about purchasing gold or silver. So what is really the difference in, I guess, realistically, how you would use gold and silver versus using Bitcoin? Because I still can't figure out how you use Bitcoin,
No, you're not alone.
if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
It's still not easy. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's not
Yeah.
it's not refined.
And if the grid
But
goes down,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, since you've been with Swiss America for so long, I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of people who've, I guess, bought Bitcoin and then they wanted to use it. I can't figure out just how you, like you said, buying bread, milk, you have to convert it. Like, I just trying to figure out the difference there.
So you have to,
Yeah,
Elizabeth, you have to buy digital milk and digital bread. Just saying.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
it's a you
And
know
it,
it's an
it
it's an
doesn't taste
excellent
good.
Yeah.
it's
it
an
doesn't.
excellent example of like something that's of value. People regard it to be of value, Bitcoin, whatever the cryptos might be. But what's necessary is a proper platform to trade and exchange it. And what I mean by that is, kind of to the point of people saying, like, if the system goes down, how do I buy my groceries? Well,
Right.
you know, you can't go into a grocery store and purchase groceries with your Bitcoin or with your what do we
Yeah.
call that thing, the coin wallet or whatever it is. Um,
Oh, right.
and
Right.
so at the end of the day, it is interesting when I personally purchased Bitcoin, and the reason I did wasn't because I was like, oh, this is fantastic, I'm going to make a gazillion dollars. This goes back several years ago now, but there was, as it was starting to really gain some momentum and popularity, we were dealing with the issue at our company, like, okay, well, these people are going to have this Bitcoin and they're going to want to buy gold with it. We got to figure out how this thing works so that we can, accept it as
Oh,
a form of payment. Thank God that never materialized. I actually still have money in my wallet. I can't figure out how to get it out of there.
I can't figure
And
it
I'll
out
tell
either.
you,
I put $5 into Bitcoin because I just want to see what would happen like 8 months ago. It's like, I don't know how to use it. How do you get it out? Yeah.
well, my big problem, I don't know if you've run into this yourself, but they gave me like a 20 digit alphanumeric code, and I can't seem to find that. So since I don't have that, I'm not exactly sure how to get into my wallet. And to be honest, it's just not something I have the time or the energy, the effort that I want to take to do it. But Chris, your point is absolutely correct. Like that has been, and, look, Buffett, Jamie Dimon, we talked about them earlier. They're all against it. It's the wild, wild west, the
Right.
digital currencies, the cryptos and whatnot. They are all adamantly against it.
You can't touch it under somebody else's control. That's basically it.
Yeah, and the reason, see, the attractiveness that they try to present with the digital currencies is the fact that that it's private. There's the government can't get involved in it, blah blah blah. And those sound to be very positive things. But the problem is, it's so private. Like you don't know what's going on. Like it's not. There's nobody really regulating or overseeing any of that. And then yes, like Chris, like you said, God forbid the power grid goes down. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You have if there is no energy to tell you what you have in that digital currency, you have no digital currency. There's no plan B. And that's where if you've seen the news about some of these losses people incur, that money is just, it's in the ether, it's gone.
Right.
They don't know where it went, and they don't know if it's coming back.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah. Okay.
Well, think about this. The grid can go down, or somebody could hack into the whole thing, or basically some people in control of Bitcoin can just make it all disappear. Now, all the money that's in there is all gone. That's it. It's done. That could happen. I know it's a long shot, and it's probably going to be very difficult to do that, but it's a possibility. At least that's where I see it. But I know it's about that.
I only put $5 in it.
I do know it's about that time, though.
Is it really?
It is.
It's Tony's takes.
Tony's takes. So let's go to this because Kamala Harris was doing her Love Fest podcast tour and a little pit stop at 60 Minutes, hoping she'd be in friendly territory everywhere, which she was. But during this, do you think Kamala Harris, after this embarrassment, should continue to do interviews or hide in the basement simply and have Maya Rudolph just go in and fill in for her for all the interviews? She does a better Harris than Harris.
So no, I think the only thing she needs, Chris, I think she's lacking one key ingredient, and
oh boy,
and that is
a brain.
No, I would never count on that. I think she needs Puff Daddy's lube. She should go get some lube, and apparently there is roofies. Did you know that they put roofies in the lube? So if you actually do back rubs of the people you're interviewing, I think they'd respond better to the interviews. That's what I'm saying. So I think the answer it's a Puff Daddy
Duty or
answer.
whatever his name is.
P.
Diddy, Puff Daddy.
P. Diddy.
Yeah. So yeah, but I think that's the answer. It's like just give people back rubs. Just saying.
I'm Maya all the way here. How about you guys?
I think if Kamala decided to hide in her basement like Biden did, and Maya Rudolph went out and she started doing all of Kamala Harris's interviews, nobody would know the difference. I bet you anything. All her loyal fans, they wouldn't even know that. Oh, she looks like her. She sounds like her. They're that low information voters, like Rush used to say.
All right, here's another one. You guys did hear that she owned a gun, right? And she actually shot it. Yeah, she said she shot it in a range. Now I'm thinking she said she owned a Glock, but I don't really believe that. Tony, I want to get your take on this.
No. She meant Glock and Spiel. It's that thing you play with the little,
well,
like a musical instrument. And she plays that. She serenades bad guys when they come in. No,
I was thinking the Red Ryder carbine action 200 shot range model air rifle. That's what I was thinking. But she'd probably shoot her eye out.
Dougie would shoot his gonads off. Dougie would be emasculated even more. He's already transitioning. It would be, a painful transition.
Oh, poor Doug.
Dougie.
Dougie, the symbol of manhood. He's the new masculine man at this point.
Like Doogie Howser, yeah.
Right.
Dougie.
If you combine soy meals with vegetarian hamburgers, that's what you get.
Oh my God.
Doug M. Hoff.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds delicious.
That's good eating.
Yep. We'll do one quick one, of course. Let's see. There you
Why
go.
we're out of time. That's why.
Yes,
Okay.
we are out of time. All right.
I know. We're
So-
fast.
So I'll tell you what, I'll do one very
All right.
quick one. Tim Walz
All
on the
right.
campaign trail tries to push this whole garbage about ending the Electoral College.
He did.
Quickly, the Kamala Harris campaign says, no, that's not our position. I go on that one. What do you think?
No, what he said, he was again taken out of context. He wanted to end the King's Revolution regarding the United States. He was simply saying, that we should throw off the king, not recognizing that we did that 250 years ago. He's just behind. That's all.
He's just
He's
a
just a little behind.
knucklehead.
He's a little.
He's-
He's a knucklehead. He admitted.
He's
it.
a
It's like,
knucklehead.
he thought we were still fighting the British. Who would honest
I
mistake.
think so, because when he said he hunted pheasants, I looked it up and I thought that's a bunch of crap.
Right.
He really, I
Thunder-headed
found
runner.
pictures of him.
That's like
Wanting a
that's like
pheasant.
remember that movie
Really?
History of the World Part 1? Oh,
Yes.
the
Oh, yeah.
pheasants are
Yes,
uprising.
yes.
What? Pull.
Uh-huh.
He's
He's a pheasant hunter.
Yep. A
Oh.
complete lame-o, if you will. All right.
All right. Well, that's enough of peasant or pheasant hunting today, right? No more of that for us.
I want to know
All right,
who sold
no.
him his shotgun.
I know. Who knows?
Not Junior.
So, well,
Walker.
anyway, Dean, thank you, Dean, for being here today. I hope you've enjoyed
Oh, my
your time
pleasure.
with us. We've enjoyed having you engage and help educate our audience, because I think if people listen, they reach out to you, they're going to be much better off unless, so there you go. We
They
talk
will
about
be.
that in the show, the Walking Liberty $50. Get some of those, have them available. Talk to Dean and his folks about gold. If it was good enough for the ancient Egyptians, it's good enough for us. Right, Chris?
It was good
Exactly.
enough for Jesus. Remember the wise men? They
That's
gave
right,
him
Jesus.
gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They gave him gold,
Right.
and he was a baby. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could have held off on the myrrh a little bit, but that's a different story.
Yeah,
for a different day.
exactly. Yeah, that was a
And-
little depressing, but anyway.
And by the way, is that where Al Franken gets his name from? Frankincense? I'm just curious. There seems to be a link there.
He probably
Seems
smells
to be a
like.
link.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, he
Oh, hey-o.
He's
smells
Franken
like,
no sense.
that's right. He smells like
Very
patchouli
good.
and baby oil. That's what he
I
smells.
like
Perfect.
Dean. Dean's got to come back again. That's awesome.
Yes, Dean. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
we
it's been
want
my
you back
pleasure.
because this was a great show and there's a lot
Yeah,
more
we're
to
doing
delve into, a lot to digest. So anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks, Chris.
you,
Thanks,
guys.
Elizabeth. And thanks, folks, for showing up, being here with us. We'll be back next week with another episode of The Hard Truth. Till then, have a great time.